Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 18th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day to ya. Hopefully you humped and didn't get humped. Unless that's what you're into, then by all means, have at it, my little rabbits. But no, for me, my day, it was good. It was a pretty smooth day. So we got up, got ourselves together, we got to work. I get to work and, no problems, no turbulence. It looks pretty light. I'm trying to stretch the workout for as much as I can, for as long as I can. But alas, to no avail, sadly, today. I ran out of work and I was just like, I guess I'm going to go upstairs. So I go upstairs, but I didn't do putbacks. I got to do my second favorite task in the warehouse, which is just cardboard cutting. Just going through the floor, just organizing the cardboard that we're supposed to be recycling, just reusing, whatever, and crushing, or at least cutting the cardboard we don't need, putting it in a buggy. Essentially setting up my own work for the future, more or less. But just kind of going through and doing that, and I had a really interesting interaction that I technically fumbled, but it was funny. I get on the floor, and I'm just getting started, and a lady passes me, and she stops, and she comes up to me, and I've seen her around. It's a big warehouse though, so I don't know who she is. And she comes up to me and she says, "You're Isaiah, aren't you?" And I go, yeah, that's me. And I'm just stun locked by that, because I'm like, how do you know who I am? And I don't say that, but I think she could just see that on my face. And she proceeds to go, "Oh, well, I know so-and-so, and they told me who you were." And I was like, oh, but I didn't catch it through the accent, and I was just kind of awkward, and I was just in shy guy mode, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. And I didn't even ask her name, so I felt really rude after the fact. And I don't know, maybe I'll try to correct that in the future, but it's not a big deal. There are so many faces that I know, so many people I know at this warehouse that I've worked at for over a decade now at this point, but I do not know their names. I just don't, that is lost to me, and that's okay. We get along just fine. But yeah, no, that was an interesting little fun interaction. But after that, I think I did that maybe for about 30 minutes of my day, and just closed out from there. We got out for the day and went to the gym. The gym has been very much the same. Not my favorite in terms of not being able to get all my workout in, all my desired regimen in. But overall, we're hitting the free weights. We are getting our core work in. We are, the fillers kind of been hit and miss, getting a little bit here, a little bit there. Today, I don't think I got much, but I did get to kind of just do a couple of other machines. I say machines, but I got to do a bench press machine, and then an incline bench press machine, which is kind of nice. I will say, these aren't really PRs per se, but it's just it's kind of a nice little strength check for me, because for the free weights, I can only go up to 75. And that's always okay, good that I know I could lift that, and I kind of just left it at that. But over the past few weeks, since I've had to use filler machines more, I've been kind of testing okay, well, this is pretty much just doing free weights. Let me just try to do a little bit more than I could. Let's go beyond that 75. Let's put a couple plates on this motherfucker. So today, I, just did a little, quick little check. We can do 100 on that. So it's essentially hey, there we go. It's not easy for me, but, nice to be able to do that on not just the bench, but also for my incline bench. So I'm loving that. Also, I got a nice little pump from that. I love it. But, did some cardio, my usual cardio. And, we were in and out of there. I will say the nice thing about not being able to do my full regimen is I do get out at, at least a few minutes earlier, getting out 15 minutes earlier. You still got I think more or less about an hour and 45 minutes of a pump. That's good. That's fine. That's solid. I love that for me. So yeah, overall, it was a good day. I came home, I stretched, I had my snack, and did some research for this episode. So there we go. We're all set. We're all ready to go. We're ready to yap. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. I will say we have an abundance of news this week. It's like our cup runneth over. There's definitely things I feel like I'm just going to be missing this week unless I somehow pull a miracle and, like, I don't know, pull some double episodes. I don't know. And that's okay. Look, I'm here to do my best, try to prioritize, do a little bit of news triage, if you will. And, you know, we get what we can. We cover what we can. I just realized, like, there's a bunch of, like, primary setup stuff, like election stuff that's happening in places, and I'm just, like, missing that shit, like, a little bit week to week, and I'm like, I'll try to cover the big ones that I feel pertinent, but, you know, also there's, like, Trump admins who are stepping down because of the Iran war or whatever, but, like, do I want to talk about this guy named Joe Kent? Not really. I don't really want to get in the weeds about this motherfucker. You know, he was a loser for signing on to this project, but smart enough to realize, hey, this historically looks really bad. We don't have any reason to be doing this unless we're, like, you know, Israel. So I don't know. I don't want to do it. Yeah, every once in a while there's a smart guy or two. But I mean, hey, big that, you know, hey, leaving their post. But also I'm like, whatever. Then Kristi Noem's replacement. He, you know, was in Congress today. Whatever, man. Another freak of the week. All right. Let's get into the news. Our first story comes from NBC News. Live updates. Iran's intelligence minister killed by Israel. U.S. unleashes bunker busters. Top Iranian official killed. Iran has confirmed intelligence minister Ismail Khatib was killed by Israel last night, a day after top national security official Ali Larijani and former Basque military chief General Gholam Reza Soleimani were killed. So we covered Larijani and Soleimani last night. It was crazy to wake up and be like, boom, they're at it again. And it's like, I mean, it is also crazy, too, to think about how plugged in Mossad has to be in this situation for them to be able to be like, we know where all of you guys are. We have known this entire time. We are just actually using that information. Like, it's so and for some reason, this took me back to the Lebanon pager situation. Like, it feels very similar to that, where you are seeing, like, you know, Israel really flex its power here, or, you know, at least its reach, you can say, to be like, we can get you, we can find you. We just need to kind of have the green light, more or less, from Big Daddy, Big Baby Daddy, you know, USA, and then we will do it. And sometimes we don't care if we get that green light or not. We're just gonna make the move. So yeah, I mean, I guess this whole regime change, one by one, is what they're gonna try to do. I think that is just something that they are saying they're doing, and in a sense, they are just saying, like, we're going to keep killing as many people as we can. Like, at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to that chaos theory, but I feel like that's being nice about it. I don't really want to get into the weeds about all that, but yeah, there's more, you know, live news on the ticker. President Donald Trump is set to pay his respects this afternoon as the remains of 6 service members killed in a crash of a refueling aircraft are returned to the U.S. U.S. forces successfully employed multiple 5,000-pound deep penetrator munitions, on hardened Iranian missile sites, along the Strait of Hormuz, CENTCOM said. The State Department ordered U.S. embassies and consular posts worldwide to immediately undertake a security review, citing the ongoing and developing situation in the Middle East and the potential for spillover effects, according to a cable seen by NBC News. Israeli airstrikes killed at least 10 people in the heart of Beirut, the Lebanese health ministry said, as Israel intensified its offensive against the Iran-backed Hezbollah militant group. More than 2,000 people have been killed across the Middle East. In Iran, Israeli and American strikes have killed more than 1,200 people, according to the Iranian Red Crescent Society. At least 850 people have been killed in Lebanon, and 13 have died in Israel. 13 U.S. service members have been killed, and two more died of non-combat causes. So there's a bit of that. Our next story is coming from the BBC. Iranian footballers return home after dropping Australian asylum bids. 5 members of Iran's national women's football team who dropped their bids for Australian asylum have returned to the country with the rest of the squad. The team were pictured in their tracksuits as they crossed into Iran from Turkey on Wednesday afternoon, having flown back via Malaysia and Oman. A number of the players had initially sought humanitarian visas to stay in Australia after concerns they would face repercussions for staying silent during Iran's national anthem at their opening Asian Cup match. Human rights activists have said they may have been pressured to reverse their decisions through threats against their families. So yeah, that was a story we had covered, I believe, last week. Obviously a very tricky, sticky situation. I'd kind of been hearing that there was like at least 1 or 2 people that had like last minute made some changes and said, no, I'm actually going to go home. This isn't going to work. But it looks like all 5 are saying, no, we're just going to go home. It looks like they've gone home. Obviously, in this situation, you wish them the best. That's such a hard situation because you were just in that moment standing up for what you thought was right. And, now next thing you know, you're being threatened, your family's being threatened, and then you're in like a no out situation. I really can't imagine what it's like to be stuck in that situation. Also knowing too that it's like you're potentially giving up your whole way of life that you can't go back to, and it's something that's going to affect your whole family. And also, no matter what, you go back, you're still at the mercy of your own government here. Really, I hate using the word, but yes, complicated and or complex, you could say. But yes, let's move on though to our next story. Like I said, we got a lot to run through. Let's see. Oh, this is a little bit of breaking. Iranian attacks on Israel kill 4 in Tel Aviv occupied West Bank, and that is of Al Jazeera. Hey, we are at war. Things are happening. Those are bad snaps. I can snap my fingers. Okay. All right. Once again, from Al Jazeera. Colombia's Petro accuses Ecuador of bombing near border. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has said that 27 charred bodies were discovered on his country's joint border with Ecuador, just one day after suggesting the Ecuadorian military may have bombed Colombian territory. The bombings along the Colombia-Ecuador border do not appear to be the work of armed groups. They don't have aircraft, nor of the Colombian security forces. I did not give that order, wrote Petro in a post on X on Tuesday morning. So it's like kind of like by elimination here. You smell what I am cooking here. I don't know what that accent is. I'm just gonna freestyle that. The accusation comes amid a U.S.-backed Ecuadorian military campaign against armed groups in the region launched earlier this month. Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa maintained that all strikes have occurred within his country's borders. So he's just saying, nuh-uh, that didn't happen. We didn't do that. We're doing all our stuff in our territory. So, this is at this point, just speculative. There's still an investigation that's going to be pending into this. But if the situation is saying, hey, we are treating these people like they are narco gang terrorists, emphasis on the word terrorists, and in the fight against terrorism, we're willing to just kind of bomb, strike, just fire with reckless abandon and just kill a bunch of people. Oops, and maybe they were on the Colombian side of the border. Oops. That's kind of what this looks like. Now, obviously, I can't say that. I don't fucking know, and I'm not on the fucking ground. But that would be very fucked up if true. If so, also, mind you, we talked about this in the episodes prior, that the good old US of A, has been working with Ecuador. Ecuador had reached out saying, hey, help us, please. We want to be just like you. Please help us. And, the US said, oh, yeah, no problem. We got you. Now, I believe it's just more or less like intelligence or stuff like that. But still, we are involved in some capacity in this potentially. Now, maybe not the specific certain instance. I don't know. I can't say that. But I also can't not say that. So it's a bit awkward. But yeah, So it's still, no matter what. Also, no matter who these 27 people are, because I know some people will be like, well, they're just gang members or gang terrorists, as maybe people are adopting that vernacular. They're people. They're people who were bombed and burned to death, potentially, right? Like, I think that should be where you first stop and check in and go, wow, that's fucked up. That shouldn't happen to a fellow human being. Okay, maybe, right? Right? In 2026? In a modern society like this? I mean, I know we're just doing that every day, in anywhere, but we should be stopping and thinking and saying, wow, this is fucked up. We shouldn't be just doing it like this. There's got to be a better way, a different way. I don't know. I'm just a guy in a shitty ass armchair. So what the fuck do I know? Anyway, let me go ahead and take a water break, and we will cover a bit of a potential strike story, but really it's not a strike story. It's a lockout story. Let me go ahead and let me get this water. Let me hydrate. Ooh, big burp. All right, from ABC7, Eyewitness News. BP to lock out workers at Whiting Refinery starting Thursday. BP will lock out workers at its Whiting Refinery amid ongoing contract negotiations starting Thursday. The company said talks with the United Steelworkers Union have stalled despite months of bargaining. BP said it made the move over concerns about a possible strike and will continue operating the facility with trained staff. The union said the company is demanding cutting jobs. The union said the company is demanding cutting jobs and pay cuts. So essentially, they're fighting to protect that. They're fighting to make sure that it doesn't happen. And essentially, BP is like, we're just gonna sidestep that. We don't want to actually deal with you. And then you're just locking the doors. The president of the union issuing the statement saying, we presented British Petroleum with an offer today that included accepting several of their proposals, only for them to reject that just 4 hours and serve us with a lockout notice. They continued to demand that we cut more than 100 jobs, accept pay cuts to nearly all positions, and give up our bargaining rights. That's just unacceptable, which I would fucking agree with. We are prepared to keep fighting for a fair agreement that protects local jobs, protects wages, and protects the rights of our members. So, I mean, really, they're fighting for their fucking present. They're fighting for their fucking future, which is, sadly, it's just a constant fucking battlefront that you see unions trying to fight, because at the end of the day, these companies are always working to fucking undermine their workers, the people that they make them fucking money off of. Tales old goddamn time, no? But I'm glad to at least see people fighting that good fight. It's just a shame to see tactics like this where they're like, oh, we actually don't need you. We can just like kind of go in-house and just say, fuck you. Doors aren't opening. Like, you just shouldn't be able to do that. But, I mean, regardless of the fucking administration, it's just allowed. It's just how this shit works. Unfortunately, we've seen it. We've covered it before in one way, shape, or another. So, yeah. Fucking boo that. Tomato to that. Tomato to BP. Anyway. We have one more story that I wanted to cover. And in honor of Afroman, we are definitely going to take our last break. That is for sure. We have to do it. And honestly, mea culpa, if I covered this before, I don't feel like I did. I tried to go through and comb through the crates. I don't think I did. If I did, it was offhand. But yeah, we are going to the in-game conclusion. And it's also hashtag some local news. We love to do local beat. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our last break, and we will cover a Afroman triumph over some fucking lemon pound cake. Also, while I take this break, I'm gonna regale y'all with an emergency snack that I had today that was actually pretty clutch, kind of tasty. I wish I remember the name of it. If I get it again, I see it again, I'll try to remember. Maybe say it on the pod or the extra thoughts. But I had this like apple mango fruit bar thing. And at first I thought maybe it might be like a fruit leathery kind of situation. But it was like a fruit, I almost want to say a fruit cake, which sounds like not yummy. And it wasn't the most yummy thing I've ever had. But I mean, for 100 calories with a white monster, kind of got me through my workout. Hashtag not sponsored. But yeah, I was like, okay, this is working. Like it was something that was literally just tasty enough. And like that, and I know that sounds crazy, and I know longtime listeners, real Isaiah Ball knowers are like, what? That's not my goat. And I'm like, look, I've changed, not that much, but somewhat. And look, diets are real, and I'm trying. That's what I do sometimes throughout the week. Anyway, it was kind of yummy. Like I said, if I get the name, I'll try to remember to talk about it or post it somewhere. I literally was like, I should take my little like cute picture of this. And I was just like, no, open it and eat it, you dumb. Also, a new clutch snack at work, which I think I'm going to incorporate. Once again, longtime listeners, you know this. Popcorn Monster, insert energy drink here. That is my go-to snack at work. Despite all the consternation, the ridicule from my friends, it works. It does a trick. But I've incorporated a new thing. I think I might have mentioned this before, I don't know. But peanut butter. I have like literally a spoonful or two of peanut butter on one of my breaks, maybe two of my breaks, if I'm feeling a little decadent, a little greedy. It's kind of nice. So yeah, there's that now. That might be like a mainstay. Sorry, I've been told by multiple people that y'all like when I talk about food and y'all miss the food talk. And I understand. Also, I've heard by some people, they like, man, I wish you would just do a food thing. And trust me, brother, sister, I would love to. I would love to do that. But I do not have the time. I don't have the resources. Because trust me, I would do that shit in my car. Easy peasy. That would just be fun to me. But then again, I think about that and then I'm like, oh, will I really want to do that? I don't know, maybe not. But anyway. Ooh. Okay. Once again, from NBC News. Afroman sued by Ohio deputies over music videos showing raid of his home, says, I got freedom of speech. Damn right, King. A Defiant rapper testified on Tuesday that he exercised free speech when he released music videos featuring images of Ohio deputies raiding his home, saying any suffering they claim in a lawsuit is due to their mistake. Several Adams County Sheriff's deputies are suing Afroman, claiming they were needlessly harmed by music videos, most notably Lemon Pound Cake, which included security camera footage taken in 2022 when they served a search warrant looking for drugs at the performer's home. None were found, and charges were never filed against the Because I Got High rapper, who was born Joseph Foreman. Afroman took the witness stand wearing an American flag patterned suit, and said his actions are protected under the First Amendment. Now I want to pause right here, because an episode prior, I talked about how that's very uncommon for someone, a defendant, to be like, hey, I'm going to take the stand in my own defense. So you're already kind of running the gambit. You're already fucking rolling the dice here. But Afroman's like, no, I'm going to fucking do that. And really, I need to appeal to the jury here and say my piece here. And it's worth it. So I got to give him fucking credit. And like, I give him the fucking stones for being like, yeah, no, I'm going to fucking talk my shit. I mean, that's a big charisma roll, right? That's a big charisma check. I got freedom of speech, he told jurors. After they run around my house with guns, kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that hits. That makes sense. Also, I don't know the details of like what's in law enforcement's head here, where they're like, we have to treat this like it's a SWAT style thing. Like, we need to kick down the door. We need to be like Rambo and his shit. Why? Like, I just can't imagine what you think is going to be in Afroman's house. Weapons of mass destructions? Like, destructions? Like, do we really need LL Cool J to fucking handle this shit? Like, it's kind of crazy. But let me continue. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them, he said. The rapper said any hardships suffered by the deputies should be pinned on law enforcement. This is all of their fault for coming in my house in the first place, the 51-year-old artist testified. So if they hadn't come into my house, their children wouldn't be saying nothing. None of this would be going on if they had did their research and did things right. So all of this is their fault, and now they want to sue me for their mistake. Asked if there was anything that could change your mind about his creative actions, the indignant Afroman put it all back on law enforcement. Is there anything that I can change, or is there anything that can change my mind about the fact that they shouldn't have been in my house in the first place? Afroman rhetorically said. Is there anything that can change my mind about how my money shouldn't have been touched in the first place? No. Dude, it's like, once again, I think that you have some credence or credit if you're law enforcement, if you got something. If there was something that you were looking for that was going to be so damning so that you could do your fucking drug money, spread across the fucking table and say you got something, but you got nothing. You kicked down a motherfucker's door for nothing. Like, that's so bad that you were caught with your hand in a cookie jar in that situation if you're law enforcement. So yeah, to try to turn this around to save face because he made a song that you didn't like and it upset your little fucking feelings, that's crazy. Boo! Everyone booed you for that. Everyone hated you for that. Once again, I do want to run through this whole article. The title of the song and the vehicle at the center of the lawsuit made light of one deputy who came through the busted door and seemed to take a particular interest in a lemon loaf sitting under a cake glass in Afroman's kitchen. Now, look, he was eyeing that shit. He was like, ooh, there's some cake in there. You want to take a little bite of that cake? And I mean, hey, if it wasn't lemon cake, I would be down. I've said this to my friends, and it kind of throws them for a loop. I'm not a big, lemon tart dessert guy. Like, I don't like an orangey cake. I don't like a lemon cake. Like, the only one I kind of fuck with is a carrot cake, and that's, that's a veggie, but that's a whole other thing. You know what I mean? This isn't about me, though. Let's see. The Adams County Sheriff kicked down my door, according to Afroman's song. Then I heard the glass break. They found no kidnapping victims, just some lemon pound cake. Mama's lemon pound cake. It tastes so nice. It made the sheriff want to put down his gun and cut him a slice. The lemon pound cake video has been viewed more than 3.1 million times on YouTube. In the song, Randy Walters is a son of a bitch. The singer's lyrics imply an extramarital affair between defendant and the wife of the plaintiff, Sergeant Randy Walters. When my daughter came home and advised me that she was getting messed with at school because apparently her mom is having sex with Afroman, Walters told jurors. It's horrible, Walters said. It's hard when your job that you're doing affects your family, which affects you. It's almost like they're kind of trying to cue this, like, oh, I got dogs kind of energy. And I'm like, yeah, you were doing your job, and then someone, said some mean shit about you. And in that regard, in that song, that situation, maybe I can see some kind of slander thing. If it's not true and this guy's just talking shit about you, I can understand how you're like, okay, we're going to take you to task on that. The lemon pound cake thing, I'm not really buying. Is it weird? Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird song. But at the same time, I get Afroman standing on his freedom of speech, and apparently, a jury said, you know what? No, we're with you on that shit. So, he's smoking free on that one, I guess. So it goes. So it is. So yeah, I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's cover this. Once again, I should have covered this before in the past. Mea culpa. But if I did, I did. And if I didn't, I didn't. Here we go. It's all wrapped up now. Anyway, that is the episode for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/AZANews. I feel like I had a burp. There it is. There it was. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. That's right. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts are always appreciated. But you don't got to do none of that. You ain't got to do nothing at all. I really just appreciate you just vibing with me, just rocking with me. I think one of my highlights in life is when I actually reveal to my friends or a person that I do this shit, and they look me up and they listen to me and they're like, yeah, this is interesting, man. Hell yeah. And even if it's just that little like shoulder pat, like, cool that you're doing that, bud. I appreciate that shit so goddamn much. You don't understand. I really do. And to the people who are genuinely like, hell yeah, dude, this shit's fun. I'm going to listen to this from now on. I'm going to peep this shit. I'm going to keep up with it. You're the best. You're awesome. I love you. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.